Hello everybody, and let's talk about openers. And the first one is...
How do you want your Zerg? Original or extra crispy?
Firebat Pylon Opener. The easiest way to open the game with a pylon is for one of the players to make a Firebat. The reason it works is that instead of attacking enemy units to defend your lane, you will be repairing your Firebat. And that is a very strong technique, especially when everybody is on board repairing the unit. So what you do is ridiculously simple. You just make a Firebat and instruct your teammates to repair it instead of attacking enemy units. You can use this opener if you have cooperation with your partner, or if you have a partner who decided to open with a Firebat, or if you have a partner who is AFK and you need to defend your lane. In fact, repairing a Firebat is so strong that in this game, when I play 1 on 4, I start with 200 minerals, the opposition starts with 400. Now they went ahead and they made units. I opened with a pylon, and then I followed up with Firebat. All I have to do to defend my both lanes successfully for the first opening minutes is to simply repair the Firebat that is being produced. And as you can see, even though I'm behind on resources and I'm behind on units, I can hold my lanes without any significant threats, not being overrun, units are not being killed instantly, my nexus is not in danger, my buildings is not in danger, both lanes are not even pushed at the same time. This Firebat repairing technique allows me to defend top on as needed basis and make a small moderate push on the bottom as I think about what units I'm going to build next and how am I going to move forward with this game. After you made a Firebat, well, what's next? You can switch to another race, or a basic and standard approach is to follow up with 2 tanks in the mid-row and then pylon. Now keep in mind that if you do follow through with a Firebat and 2 tanks, most likely you are going to see immortals coming your way. So plan on countering that counter to your opener. Triple Zealot Sentry Opener. This simple and effective opener is going to defend your lane, put pressure on the enemy units. It's effective and very simple to roll out. It also builds up your economy gradually. All you have to do is to build 3 Zealots in a row. The second Zealot syncs quite nicely to the first one. Then you roll out the third and you follow up with the Sentry. You have detection, you have some basic air defense, which is good for an opener. Now, the counter to this opener is Baneling. If you see a Baneling, be sure to unsync one of your Zealots, or Firebat. Firebat will counter this opener pretty effectively too. Roach Sentry Push. Now this opener requires a little bit of skill, and it definitely requires your partner's cooperation. In the end, when you're done, you are supposed to have 2 Roach and 3 Sentries. I came up with these numbers based on my personal experience. Now what you want to do is to, for example, take building up 3 Sentries, your partner takes building out 2 Roaches. You hold your units so that the enemy wave is relatively close to your base. The reason for that is the mechanics that makes Roach Sentry Opener so much more effective. What happens is Roach acts as a damage sponge and Sentry just stacks up behind it. So if you want to get the maximum Sentry stack, you keep your enemy close to you, so to speak. Now, let's say we had rolled out our buildings and we had synced them together, and the enemy is relatively close. This is the ideal scenario for launching Roach Sentry push. So then you just sit and watch. Now, if your partners or people you are on the same team, they come out and say, oh, these guys are noobs, it's gonna be an easy game, blah blah blah, smack them on the forehead through chat and tell them to play their best, because the game is being far from over. And continue. Now, you will see later on how nicely and how many sentries we will get at the end from just 3 sentry buildings. To defend against Roach Sentry push, well, a Storm Assassin will work very, very nicely against this nice synced and tight army, and also instruct your teammates to attack sentries. If everybody attacks the same sentry, 1 sentry at a time, Roach Sentry push will break down very, very fast. Otherwise, either you're gonna have to cannon or waste a nuke in the opening minutes. Queen Firebat, also known as Bat Queen Opener. Now this is a nasty, nasty, nasty one. To pull this off, it is a 2-man job. One guy takes care of building a Firebat, the second guy takes care of building the Queen. Leave the Queen on transfusion and sync them relatively to each other. The mechanics behind this opener is very, very simple. Firebat is a strong opening unit that will fire through everything in his path. Queen, on the other hand, is going to be sitting behind Firebat, providing detection, providing air support if necessary, and most importantly, it will repair Firebat. So what's going to happen is Firebat is going to absorb some of the damage as it goes along, and then as it's about to fall, it's going to be magically repaired, oftentimes frustrating the shit out of the opposition that are trying to deal with this opener. It's very, very hard to defend against it using SCVs, as Firebat is armored. And it has, I think, bonus versus light units. Now you can follow up with another Firebat and another Queen. I would recommend having 2 Queens for this opener. You can also follow up with a couple of Marauders, since Immortal is a well-known counter to Firebats. It is very, very likely that you will see an Immortal, and Marauder has bonus against armored units. If you want to take the concept of Queen and another strong unit, then you can experiment with Queens and Ultralisks. Those are going to become a nasty opener in the second part of the game too. DOS Zerg Opener. Now, it's not a classical opener per se, but it is the way that I open most of my games. And the mechanics of it relies on building 30-second units, and it relies on your ability to sync units successfully. So the pattern goes this way. You make a Zealot and you hold it until the first minute. Then you make a Zergling and you hold it until 1 minute and 10 seconds. So basically you hold it for 10 more seconds after you roll out a Zealot. What this will do, it will bring the enemy to your base, and then when the Zealot spawns, the Zergling is going to be at the same spot where the Zealot is. And you're going to start with a nice opening push. Then you follow up with a Roach, and then you follow up with a Sentry. if you had held your Zealot until the first minute, Roach and Sentry is going to sync quite nicely to Zealot. You just have to pay attention to it. And building units in this fashion is going to be a nice drill or an exercise in your syncing skills. Now after you have a Roach, then you can follow up with Hydras. In the classical example of this opener, you can follow up with 8 Hydras, and we are going to see that in action later on in a different game. In this game, however, flexibility is the key. Once we realize that Hydra and our stuff is being countered by massive amounts of stalkers that are being produced, then we went ahead and switched to Immortals. Nonetheless, as you can see, we were not pushed into our lane. Our units coming out very synced and very strong were able to force a cannon and put up the pressure the whole time. So Emos and then Pylon or whatnot. In this game, the next one, I will teach Little Bear how to make this opener happen. And it pretty much teaches him how to sync too. Now once again it's Zealots held until the first minute, then Zerlings held for another 10 seconds, and then we go about with our units, Roach, Sentry, and then we made 8 Hydra each and followed up with a Queen, upgraded range attack after 8th Hydra, and then we pyloned. Now our units were coming in synced and our units were coming in strong, and that created tremendous amount of difficulty and challenge for the other side. Now you can see that I think I was controlling sync in the beginning, and then I had let Lil Bear to kind of try and practice his syncing skills. Now here I was late on income, so instead of building Hydra behind the Zealot building, I blinked forward and built it slightly ahead. That allowed me to have my Hydra being synced relatively to my main wave, while Lil Bear had missed a sync cycle. So once you have your Hydras, it's a no-brainer, and you can monitor the minimap. We were never pushed. We were never experiencing this wave-on-wave dynamics when one party turns one wave around, then the wave goes backwards and then forward, etc, etc. It was always one-way street for the entire game. I prefer this opener over others because it allows me to build into mid-game very smoothly. While other openers can be very effective in the beginning, they really slow you down mid to end game because you had accumulated unnecessary or useless units in the mid to end game. But this one works quite nicely, and you can later on sell Hydra for other units. In this case we forced a nuke and we demoralized the other lane, so eventually they pulled up cannons and then quit. Thanks a lot for watching. Let's get more good players out there, so spread the word.